Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and we're going to talk about the biggest financial problem Wizards of the Coast has with Dungeons & Dragons, specifically with selling the physical books. Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, Dungeons & Dragons always has had the most abysmal business structure with selling physical books. It is absolutely horrifically bad, right? If you look at it just from a money perspective, it is shockingly, it seems, it's not, but it's close to stupid. It's so bad, right? So listen to where we've landed with Dungeons, and actually this has been the case for every single edition. It matters for D&D now because that's the edition that matters, right? But so here's the issue. Okay, a dungeon master and a player, a dungeon master from one campaign and a player from another campaign, not the first dungeon master's player, walk into an FLGS. They put their eyes upon the D&D 5e shelf. Okay, there are 35 books on the shelf, hardback books, $50 a piece that they can buy. Okay, that dungeon master has permission, privilege, the right to buy every single book she sees. Okay, that player does not have right now. That player, as most players understand it, do not have the right, the permission, or the privilege to buy a single book, because let's talk about Called Another Deep. Called Another Deep does a great job of explaining Exandria, areas of Zorhas, areas of Marquette, Al Ankharal, right? It's just like the new city there, right? Beautiful book, right? Like, with lots of information about a world. There's playable options in there, material for players, but it's also got adventure material, and every single Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition player does not feel like they can buy the Critical Role book because they don't have permission to. That is outlandishly foolish, right? Because think about what's happening, right? And this is the case for every single book except the Player's Handbook from back in the start, right? The Player's Handbook is literally the only book that says, hey, this is yours, you have a right to buy this, player, and the DM can't keep you from any of it, right? And so every single book for the players are like, oh, am I going to be allowed to use this, right? And so why is this bad? It's horrible, right? DMs are at best 20% of the D&D participant base, right? So 80% of the people doing D&D, either playing or DMing, in my opinion, logically, are players. So you have built a structure where your primary content vehicle, the classic Dungeons & Dragons hardback, which costs $50, which is very underpriced in my opinion, right? And we're about to see it rise to $70 this year, right? Because, the Spelljammer book, right? So basically, just listen to this. You have built a structure where 20 of the people participating in your game have the right, privilege, and permission to buy your product. That is a hair's breadth away from outrageously stupid. It is just the worst business model you could possibly build. Okay, what industry on earth would build a business model that tells 80% of the people who can buy the product, go fabargle yourself, you have no business with this product. There's one person in your entire group who's permission to buy this, right? And players are very specifically kept from jumping in and interacting, right? And purchasing products, which is outrageously foolish on the part of Wizards of the Coast, okay? And it's not just Wizards of the Coast. TSR did the same thing, and Wizards of the Coast did it, and now Hasbro is doing it. Every company that's ever owned D&D has made this problem the same, right? And it is ridiculously, outrageously a hair's breadth away from the stupidest business model you could possibly do, right? All right, okay. So I'm Scott Garibay, right? I don't just point at problems and whine about it. I'm going to give you the solution, right? What they should do immediately, right, with the next setting, all right, is they should shift to a key campaign. All right. So first of all, Wizards of the Coast, I'm going to explain what a key campaign is and how to structure your product so you very much give right, privilege, and permission to every player to buy a book and expect their dungeon master to run every single thing they want run from the books they buy. And that the story, the narrative of the campaign is driven by player purchase and player decision, right? And the dungeon master gets less agency and the player gets more agency. So first of all, Wizards of the Coast, I relinquish every right to, I know you guys don't take open submissions. I relinquish every right to the key campaign concept, and I would be very thrilled if you use this, and I don't want $1 for the idea, right? Okay? All right, so let's go. All right, so how do you do a key campaign? How you structure one, right? So basically, let's take Dragonlance, for example, okay? Now Dragonlance is already in the pipe, but this is how you do a key campaign for a Dragonlance. You would say, Dragonlance player world key, Dragonlance race player key, okay? All the races for Dragonlance, one book, 64 pages long, okay? Player key, okay? That's the name on the hardback. It is 64 pages long. It's exactly the same size as a regular book, and it has just the Dragonlance races in it, right? And it is called it is a Dragonlance. Yeah, so it is a Dragonlance player decision. So it's a Dragonlance race player key. Okay, 164-page book, and what do they do? What do players do with this? Well, for one, you would immediately shift every single player character in the game to what is called a Planes Arc. PLANESARC, and these are specific player characters that have received a single invisible tattoo on their left or right arm, okay? And once they receive that, they can receive additional invisible tattoos from magical institutions that supply them from all over many, many different realms, okay? And then what that's going to do is each one of those, so basically the player will go into the game and they're going to say, okay, right now I'm a human, but this magical tattoo I have has told me about this new race in Dragonlance called a tiefling. I'm going to transform myself into a tiefling, right? And the player's like, you DM, I'm transforming myself from a human to a tiefling right now. The tiefling's on page 38. These are my new stats, right? I'm no longer a human, right? And guess what? And then, right, I'm going to go fight this monster in Dragonlance from the Dragonlance monster player key, right? Now, how do I know where this monster is and how to defeat it? It's this new invisible tattoo that just appeared right here, right? That's how narratively I know that this thing now exists. Because when I was sleeping, this thing appeared on my arm, and all the information I needed to know this monster exists, know its location, and know how to defeat it, or at least have some clue how to defeat it, is magically put into me through this magic item I have, right? And so I'm now transforming myself into a tiefling. I'm now going to go to the monster, and the monster's on page 68. I've already read the monster. Your only job is to run it, right? Like, I don't need, and then when I'm done killing that monster, I found 1,200 gold, and I'm now going to go to the Dragonlance magic item player guide, another 64-page thing, and I'm going to this location to buy this magic item. I know it exists, right? And I know what city I can find it in because I have a magical tattoo that told me when I was sleeping last night. And so the entire campaign arc is driven by the books the players buy, and they tell the dungeon master what they want to run and what they want to go to, right? And the dungeon master is simply, the dungeon master is like, okay, I see you're a tiefling now. I know where you're going to hunt that monster. You got your 1,200 gold. I know the city, and on page, that's 3 different books. You're telling me where you're going for each one of them. And the player, who is supposed to be the star of the story, right, is driving the narrative, right? And the Dungeon Master is making all of it real and exciting and useful for all of them. And this fixes the problem. And you will tell, and I think you will double, triple, maybe quadruple the number of physical books sold. And that's profit. And that's America. And that's baller capitalism. That's the solution. That's my opinion. What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing. Have a wonderful millennium.